Death Guard are one of the toughest, most elite armies around, but what if they were not just tougher, but even more elite? Let's find out in this detachment that goes all in on Terminators, the Death Lord's Chosen. If you'd like the Death Lord to choose you, consider liking and subscribing. To read more, head over to goonhammer.com, link in the description. Detachment Rule: Deadly Vectors. In your opponent's command phase, roll 2d6 for every afflicted enemy unit, with a -1 to the roll if they're below half strength. On a 6 or less, they take d3 mortal wounds. This is a bit of an odd duck ability, not exactly the virulent chocolate to go with your plague-ridden peanut butter. Contagion-based rules like these are great for hordes of schmucks who don't do much damage on their own, like poxwalkers, but your Terminators are probably going to be killing stuff just fine on their own. We're guessing the vision is for your Terminators to grind away in melee and wear your opponent down, but it's better on small units of Plague Marines, Bloat Drones, and Plague Burst Crawlers. The Plague Marines and drones provide ways of afflicting things outside of your contagion range, and the crawlers can add to the mortals and work better against afflicted targets. Mortarion can also do well here, since his passive ability also does mortal wounds to nearby enemy units. This is also odd mechanically since you're trying to roll low to cause damage, which is rare in 10th edition, and is about as reliable as failing a battle shock test. That's not good or bad mechanically, just inconsistent from a rules writing standpoint. As you'd expect, the enhancements only work on Terminator characters. Face of Death forces a battle shock test on a unit engaged with your character, as they assumedly show them an old Faces of Death VHS tape. It's not particularly useful. Vile Vigor lets your character's unit reroll advance rolls and adds 1 to their movement. This is pretty good, helping your foot-slogging guys get where they need to be early. Warp-Rot Talisman lets the bearer's unit zip back into reserves at the end of your opponent's turn. Uppy-downy abilities like this are always great, and can enable a first turn deep strike if you're going second, which can be devastating with Death Shroud. Helm of the Fly King is fantastic, preventing the bearer's unit from being shot at from outside 18 inches. Your opponent will have to get close to bring enough shooting to deal with your Terminators, and that's precisely where you want them. Just like the enhancements, the stratagems only work on Terminator units. Blooming Pestilence boosts contagion range of a unit by 3 inches for a phase. It's great for getting stuff in range for deadly vectors, or just making sure your deep striking Blight Lords have their target afflicted. Grim Reapers, aside from being a bit on the nose, is a decent melee buff, letting a unit of Terminators reroll hits in the fight phase. Death Shroud already hit on 2s, so it's really for Blight Lords or if you're dealing with some negative hit modifiers. Undying Spite is your classic fight on death stratagem, letting your Terminators fight before they die on a 4-up. This is always good to have in your back pocket. Signal Pox has your Lord of Virulence, point at an objective, and afflict every unit in range of it. With how many Death Guard abilities key off of affliction, this is an excellent way to break up your opponent's castle. Mortarion's Teachings gives a Terminator unit assault and heavy on their guns, letting your Blight Lords hit more reliably or rush into rapid fire range. Sickening Impact is an incredible stratagem, causing up to 6 mortal wounds when one of your Terminator units charges, rolling a d6 for each and causing a mortal on a 2-up. With a full health Terminator unit, you're likely to just do 6 mortals on the way in. You're gonna want to get your opponents afflicted early and often, hurling your Terminators into the fray and grinding your opponent down with mortal wounds. You'll definitely want a few squads of Death Shrouds and Blight Lords for your main push, buffing your Death Shroud with a Lord of Contagion and Lords of Virulence boosting those Blight Lords up to a potent mid-board threat. You'll also need a few small squads of Plague Marines and some Plague Burst Crawlers for fire support, maximizing affliction across the board. Plague Marines can spread affliction with their shooting, and Plague Burst Crawlers can take full advantage of that, causing even more mortal wounds to afflicted units. Now let's go over the strengths and weaknesses. Great enhancements. Helm of the Fly King and the Warp-Rot Talisman are great additions to the Terminator game plan. Although these are appropriately expensive, you want to make some room for these when you can. It leans into some of the army's best units. Terminators, particularly of the Death Shroud variety, are amazing in the new book, and this detachment gives them support to be even better. There's also some great stratagems. With Sickening Impact and Signal Pox in your back pocket, there's a lot to like here. But unfortunately, there's only a lot to like here if you're a Terminator. There's no support for anything else except for the detachment rule. Speaking of which, the detachment rule wants you to take other tools. There are plenty of ways to get stuff afflicted in Death Guard outside of just contagion range, and the bad news is that this detachment doesn't support any of them. This detachment rule is also unreliable. Rolling a 6 or less on 2 dice is less than a 50% chance, so this rule will not trigger consistently. Even with a -1, it brings it to slightly better than 50%, which still isn't enough to get it there. It may not be the strongest detachment in the book, but Deathlord's Chosen has some interesting stuff going on. It can dish out a kinda wackadoo number of mortal wounds, but it definitely lacks in flexibility, with a detachment rule that only kinda works with the units it's allegedly built around. We don't expect it to place at a GT anytime soon, but it's gonna be a lot of fun chipping away at everything that stands before it. If you want to see how we plan on running this detachment, head over to goonhammer.com for a sample list and more. You can also support us on Patreon for Discord access and bonus content, and like and subscribe to us here on YouTube. I've been Gutrot McSpume, hoping the Deathlord chooses me next. Thanks for watching.